It's time to answer a fan question. Something we do every week. And since this is our 100th show, we thought we'd do something special.
Hey, Jesse. Hey, Mike. My name is Josh, and I am calling from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. I just want to say I love the podcast, and I look forward to it every week. I have a question about a bit that was on Late Night with Conan O'Brien, and it really kind of took on a life of its own, inspired a website, maybe a full live stream as well. That is the hornymanatee.com sketch. If memory serves me correctly, I think Conan had mentioned something about visiting hornymanatee.com, and he found out after that if somebody in a position of power mentions a website name, NBC required them to actually buy it and kind of make it a thing. So that led to quite a long-running sketch with this recurring theme of the horny manatee. And I'm just wondering, is it true that you guys actually had to buy the domain and it kind of, morphed into what I think to be one of Conan's funniest bits? I'd be interested to hear a little bit more. Thanks again, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. Wow.
That's a great question.
That's a very specific question.
I know. And we have not addressed that before.
Certainly not.
I know. We've been waiting.
It's never come up.
But yeah, so we do have to buy the domains if we mention a website on the show in any capacity.
Right.
If it's in a comedy sketch, we have to make sure that that website doesn't already exist.
Right.
And then purchase it if it doesn't.
And the reason for that is, let's say someone else buys the site and puts stuff up there that could be offensive, et cetera, then we'd be liable for any negative.
Yeah, and we wouldn't get any of the profits either.
Yeah, exactly right. Of course. I never thought
which
of
would
that.
be unfair.
Oh, yeah.
But it occurred to us while we were thinking about this question that the person who managed the websites and making sure that the URLs were available on our show was actually Jordan Schlansky. Is that right, Jordan?
That is right. That's correct.
You're here with us.
Yeah.
Hi, Jordan.
I'm here.
Yeah, so we thought we would go to the horse's mouth to get an answer on this. Please welcome Mr. Jordan Schlansky. Hello, Jordan.
Hi. Thank you guys for having me.
You've just sent us a photo. Oh, this is a photo of you with the horny manatee.
Yeah, as Josh mentioned, we had mentioned the URL Horny Manatee in a comedy sketch, and this was December of 2006.
Oh, wow. Look at those sideburns.
That picture is me and Dan Gore, of course, former writer on Late Night with Conan O'Brien, who's gone on to do fantastic things.
Yes.
Have you had him on the show?
Yes, we've had Dan on the show in season 1, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, checking up on us.
So in order to say the website on the air, as Mike mentioned, the network had a policy that we purchase it to ensure that there would be no questionable content. And we had done that a few times before with other websites. And then one of the writers, which I believe was Dan, had the great idea that, hey, listen, if we own this site anyway, let's make a comedy bit out of it. And we made it into a functioning website. We would do photo shoots and feature kind of erotic manatee-themed artwork on the website. Mm-hmm. And the picture I just sent is a behind-the-scenes photo of Dan and myself positioning the manatee for one of the aforementioned erotic-themed photo shoots.
Mm-hmm.
What position do you think that was going to be? It's just sort of spread eagle right now.
Based on the limitations of the articulation of the particular costume, I don't know that there was that much we could do with it. Unfortunately, I actually looked up the website. For a while, we had it functional, and then later on, NBC just had it direct to their own homepage. And now the website goes nowhere, but I looked, and not only does NBC still own it, but they renewed it as recently as last year.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
It may be their general policy to never let the URLs expire, or maybe there's some future.
Maybe they hope we're going to come back.
Meanwhile, that's where a third of their income comes from right now. Yes, it was originally a comedy bit. I couldn't quite remember the details, but there's a big article about it in the New York Times at the time. We used to do bad NCAA mascots, and one of them was that Dan came up with. It was supposed to be a manatee on a webcam, and he was trying to do a lascivious dance. And Mark Pender, our band trumpeter, we cut to him watching this on his laptop, and then Conan just did an ad-lib.
Pender's on hornymanatee.com.
And then because he ad-libbed that after the show, Jordan, do you remember this? I'm imagining that's when you would have kicked into action.
Yeah. That one was surprisingly available. In this day and age, there are very few combinations of words that haven't been purchased yet. But back in Sweet Innocent 2006, there was a lot more availability, and no one had thought to purchase Horny Manatee.
And that's right. Dan had a great idea to let's
make it a real site.
Right. And then do comedy about it. And we invited fans, as you said, to start sending in their own Horny Manatee fan art. So it was one of the early interactive...
Which is also a dangerous thing to do now, probably.
Website bits, yes.
Well, one of the interesting feel-good stories related to this situation was that we were, I believe, selling shirts. I've also sent you a photo of one of the logos that we had on the shirt.
Okay.
And all of the proceeds that we made went to a legitimate manatee foundation because they were and maybe still are.
Inseminating manatees.
Yes, a threatened species. And we sent it, I forgot the name of the foundation. It was based in Florida. And we were in regular contact with them, making sure they got the proper proceeds. And they loved what we were doing. And I mean, if they loved it, to me, that's a blessing that the manatee community in general was on board.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if they loved the content as much as the check that was getting sent to them. But I remember Conan quickly, soon after, was like, I don't like that bit. I think he hated the costume. Because it was so,
it was
bad.
Just,
it doesn't even really look like a manatee.
It looks like it was adapted from something else. Like they took the trunk off an elephant or something.
Yes.
I've seen so few actual manatees in my life that the image I have in my head of a manatee is that costume.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
That's upsetting. They all have that big seam around their neck.
Can I ask a question? Jordan, what would have happened if Conan had said that website and then you found out that it belonged to somebody else?
Well, what often happens is, if that's the case, the standards department screens all of our shows. And after the show, if they hear a website like that, they'll check in with me and ask if we knew it was going to happen. And if so, if we have purchased the URL, ideally, we would tell them yes. In cases where we haven't, they usually ask us to censor either the entire name of the website or maybe just the .com or .biz part of it, just to leave some ambiguity there so they have plausible deniability that they didn't actually endorse a particular website that could be problematic. There was a lot of times, if a website's unavailable, it doesn't necessarily contain questionable content, but the threat is that in the future, when a show repeats, we can't control what would be on the website then. The only sure way is to own it. There was one example. Normally, we kind of roll their eyes when we get these notes. If something is ad-libbed in the show and we have to censor something, we're never happy about it.
Yeah, because it almost makes it sound worse.
It makes it sound worse.
Censor it.
We don't want the perception that we're a show that falls under high amounts of censorship. Back on the TBS show in 2014, we had the cast of Orange is the New Black on, and Laverne Cox was one of the cast members on the show. And she had mentioned her twin brother and that he had a website. He was a musician, she said, and she wanted to promote his website. And we didn't know about it in advance. And normally if a celebrity asks to plug one of their websites, there's a lot more leniency involved than if it's just an unknown website. You know, we want to make sure that we, treat the talent well, and usually they're harmless sites. Normally I'll check out a website in advance. In that case, it was ad-libbed. I did not have the opportunity. So after the taping, I immediately got an email from the standards department saying that we needed to censor the website. And again, in the interest of talent relations, she was only promoting her brother's musical website. I kind of went back to them and pushed back a little bit and said that we'd like to keep it. Let's cut some slack. And I got an email back, which I've located, and I'd like to read it to you.
Sure.
After I said that we'd like to keep this URL, the mention on air of Laverne Cox's brother's website, I was told there is a pornographic image on the front page of the site of 3 men being anally penetrated by objects.
Those are musical instruments.
And that was from Standards and Practices.
This is from Standards and Practices. Immediately, to verify the accuracy of the email, I went to the website. And in fact,
well, of course,
that was certainly the case. I can't say I disagree with the logic of this policy as much as we disliked it at times.
It's interesting because, all of this, honestly, I feel a little bit bad because we've sort of dispelled here the myth that you don't do anything for the show. Like, I'm upset to know that you occasionally did things.
You would have preferred it if I did not do things.
I would, yes.
Right.
That's part of your mythology.
Do you feel some level of sorrow that my image was unnecessarily tarnished by the myth that I didn't do anything.
I still don't know if we've shown you have actual duties. All I've heard is you were looking at 3 men being anally penetrated. I don't know if that's work. If so, and you were holding up
That's a good point.
the flap of a costume.
How many hours per year would you say you spent researching pornographic websites for work?
Well, if I were to aggregate all of the requests and the time that I spent looking at them, and then the percentage of those that were pornographic, I'd say under 10 minutes per annum. At least that's what we say in Latin. Yeah.
Yeah, what a great use of Latin.